Everybody, it's your main man, Anthony Brogdon, coming at you strongly, stronger, strongest with a cool dude. Let me tell you how I met this brother. And he deep. He came up and said something to me. I said, hold on, man, I never heard that. And we're gonna get into the story. He might have invented something that's gonna change the way we see the world. It's got implications, everybody. And I'm excited to have him on the show. I'm Anthony Brogdon. I'm a guy trying to do something extraordinary by giving you this history, but giving you this wellness and some other stuff with these brothers and sisters around the world who come up with stuff that is going to help us, and in particular, the Black community. That is my aim, to inspire, to educate, and entertain via this show and the books that I write and the movies that I produce and the public speaking that I do. I'm not playing with you, my friends. The train has left the station. We over 500 videos strong on this show. Oh, did you see the one I did with the white guy out of Scotland who found out his great grandfather was an enslaver in Barbados? Watch that video. Did you see the one I did with the guy who goes to those pyramids in Egypt and he explains what you will see when you get there? What that whole the history of Egypt and what they did to contribute to civilization. Watch that video. Did you see the one I did with the lady out of I think it's Jacksonville, Florida, back in the like 1950s, 60s? She integrated a high school and her classmates tried to kill her. Watch that video. Did you see the one I did with the guy who owns an urban farm here in Detroit? And he talks about urban farming and being a vegetarian and how he got that way. Watch that video. I got it from all over. And what happened, everybody, I went to, and I was a presenter at the National Black Chamber of Commerce just a little while ago. I tore them up, man. Them people, they did not leave. And you could walk in and out freely. They did not leave my session. I told them some stuff that I could tell they you know how people they a lot of times they sitting on their cell phone, right? And they were sitting on their cell phone and then they put it down and to listen to what I got to say about rich Black people who lived in the 1800s. It's amazing stuff. I did a movie about it, everybody. This is the DVD. It's streaming on Amazon. It's called Business in the Black. That led me on this journey. I then took it one step further and I wrote a book about it. Boom shakalaka, my friends. I'm not playing with you. Here is the book. It's America's #1 Black business history book. There is no other book as comprehensive and as thorough and easy to read as this one. Get you a copy of that. I did one more thing. I wrote a children's book. I don't even mention the word slavery in here. If y'all in them Texas and them states don't want it, here it is. Get this book. 30 rich Black people who lived in the 1800s. I'm speaking all over the country, everybody, and I got some good stuff coming up. I'll be at the ASALA convention. I'll be at the Association of Black School Educators. I'll be at the Gullah Geechee Festival and others. I got to get out the house and spread this message. And all that is on my website, businessintheblack.net. Now, you hear me use this term strong a lot. That was how I opened this show. In my world, strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to the guest today. Come on, strong man. Get it on. I'm so happy you with us.
Well, we happy to be here today.
Tell us your name.
My name is Richard Campbell, and I am the proud inventor of geological agriculture, or geoag. It's the study of growing plants and rocks without soil and fertilizers, like you see behind my head here. And so we've cracked the code on the rocks of the planet Earth to harness their mineral values to grow plants, among other things.
All right, let me
And
stop you
so
there. We're gonna get to the story, but I do with all my guests. Let me ask you a couple questions about yourself. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Detroit, Michigan, the D.
Okay.
What up, though?
What up though? What about what did you grow up in a black neighborhood, white neighborhood, had some white friends, whatever, whatever?
Blackity black, black, black. It's Detroit,
Okay, okay. Did you know
Boston
white
Edison
people?
District,
Did you know white
Boston
people?
Edison District.
Yeah, I got you. Did,
Yeah.
did you know any white people growing up?
Not until I got to high school in Maryland when I moved away from Detroit.
Okay. Where'd you move to? Where in Maryland? And how was that for you?
Silver Spring, it felt like I was on a TV show. You know, those TV high schools with all the different cliques and the different high schools and the white schools and how they act. It was just like a TV high school. And so it
How
was
did that
fun because it felt TV like.
yeah, how did it shape you to be who you are?
Well, there are white people in the world. So you do have to interact with them and learn about their ways and styles and become friends. We have a lot of good white friends because of going to that high school. And it goes with you for your lifetime, your experience with all the people you meet with. So it definitely helped see the world in a better place
Okay.
because it's a unified place, a lot of diversity, a lot of input, and white people aren't so bad
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, I got you on that note. Did you learn any Black history in the school?
In high school, yeah, they had the Black History Month. I was part of the Black Student Organization. We did events, we did fashion shows, we did field trips. In these in white environments, blacks, that are there come together to do a lot of progressive and transformative things in and of themselves. And so, yeah, absolutely, the history of blackness continues when in white institutions because of the blacks that are around you.
Let me go just a little bit on deeper on you. Do you know where the slavery is in your family? Do you have any knowledge of where where in the South you all are from and that kind of thing?
Well, you can see my skin complexion, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure, 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 sure.
So yes, my grandfather out of North Carolina, Dr. John Potts, his great grandfather. So it was the King family in Flat Rock, North Carolina, who were the slave owners. And of course, Daddy King had his favorite slave woman who was married and had a baby with her. And then later on, gave that child 100 acres of land near the plantation owner, right adjacent to it. And so that family land is still in our family to this day. And so we know exactly the white man that got with the black woman to create this light skin here.
Yeah,
We know
yeah.
the whole story, and our family is living there, as owners of that acreage, of that 100 acre lot. My mother, my uncles, my two other aunts. And so they are the great grandchildren of that slave owner and slave union. So yeah,
So
we
so
know
do
where
y'all
all that.
connect with his family and stuff like that? Yeah, kind of friendly
We
or
know
whatever?
them, we talk to them on occasion, my family members who moved back to that area, East Flat Rock, North Carolina, see them in town and greet them. It's part of our lives. We grew up visiting that house, taking the trails through the woods. And so, yeah, we know them.
What did the enslaver grow? What line of business? Do you know?
That I am not sure of. I can find out, but I'm not sure of what the Kings actually did in terms of whether they grew tobacco or just had slaves. All of them, the big landowners, they did some type of agriculture, but I don't know what his is. His
Yeah.
was.
Uh, do you hear voices when you go to that land?
No,
The land that your family own or something like that?
no, no spirits of the past voices. But I can't say that for my sister. She's more in tune to the spirit world and does get spirit engagement, but I'm not that lucky.
What is the house that the plantation? Is it still standing? Is it a museum or something like that?
No, they it is still standing. I visited about 7 years ago, 8 years ago. We used to visit it over the summers periodically. Um, but I don't think they've done much with it as making it a landmark or a museum, but they may have. There is definitely the content there to do so. But given the circumstances of slave ownership and slavery, I don't know if they actually will.
Yeah. Well, you say y'all have 100 acres. What do you do with 100 acres? That's a lot of land, a lot of grass to cut. Y'all farm on it?
No, my grandfather used to have cows and used to grow hay, but the acres is mainly woods and hills. So hills don't allow too much. There is a lake there. So currently we use it as recreation. And then my uncle and aunt live there permanently now. They've retired and moved there and taken the family home. And my grandfather expanded it, made it nicer, taken the land and made it like a little mini black resort
Oh
with
well, y'all.
trails through the land, a lot of
Oh,
a lot of home farming. So they eat a lot, they grow a lot of what they eat on the fields, but it's more a personal farm now than a commercial farm.
I got you. What's near what's the big city close to that?
Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay. Oh,
So it's
Asheville.
halfway between Asheville and Greenville.
Yeah, my dad was born in Asheville. Yeah, I've
Hmm.
been there a couple times. Um, you mentioned that you had your father or grandfather was a doctor.
Yeah, my great uncle was the dean of dentistry at and a doctor of dental activity, dentistry at Meharry Medical School. So he was a doctor of dentistry, then became the dean of Meharry's Medical School in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And so that's the uncle that I collaborated with over the years to uncover and unpack geological agriculture.
When did you yourself get uh to where you like science and what you do? How did this come about? In grade school or something you had a liking for it?
Well, on the same land that we're talking about in North Carolina, in Flat Rock, there's a lake, there are trails, there are paths. And my older brother was into gems and stones and minerals. And so we used to go collecting rocks in the hills of the family land, garnet and mica and tourmaline.
What hold
And
on, what are
so,
those? Those are the type of rocks?
right, a garnet is a gemstone. It's a type of rock. It's also a one of the stones of the zodiac signs. So it's tourmaline, and then mica is also a type of geological material, and it's found commonly in the hills of North and South Carolina. And so they were on my family's farm, which gave me an underpinning and under knowledge of rocks and minerals in general as a young lad in the 7, 8, 9 years old. So when my uncle asked me about why he was witnessing a watermelon growing out of rocks in Nashville, I was able to provide a coherent answer to him, which led us down this journey of geological agriculture.
Let's go back when we talk about rocks. All that I did with rocks, maybe if there was a lake nearby, trying to skip it up on the top of the rock. What would you do? You would get these rocks and you would collect them, and then you would do research as to what kind of rock it is at a young age, so let's speak.
No, at a young age, rocks are pretty. So you collect them for their beauty. Like a geode, when you cut it open and you open it up and you have all these crystals and pretty colors. So in the beginning, rock was a pretty color exploration looking for fancy rocks to add to your collection because rocks are valuable. They're decorative stones. They have energy properties to them if you follow that. And so we were just having fun and young kids exploring the mountains and seeing shiny rocks on the ground, and
Okay,
then
let me ask.
reading about the rocks, learning about what they are, but really just having them in our own personal collections.
Okay, let me ask you this one. What is a rock?
Well, the definition of a rock is a collection of minerals. And that's where the distinction starts to come in geoag world versus traditional farming world. Again, it's a collection of minerals, but you don't know which minerals.
But
Also,
go ahead.
rock is defined as the parent material to soil. So in earth development, rock is soil. Soil is defined as crushed rock and decayed vegetation. So rock is the parent material to soil, and the definition of rock is a collection of one or more minerals.
Give me an example of some minerals that make a rock. You name the rock.
Potassium,
Okay.
magnesium, nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, iron.
They.
It's
How long does it take for a rock to form?
the age of rocks on the planet Earth are between 50 million years old and 4 billion years old. So rocks are pretty old. However, and that's your sedimentary and igneous rock. 3 rock types: sedimentary, igneous, metamorphic. Sedimentary is in the water rock, is rocks coming from water. Igneous is rock coming from land, and metamorphic is rock coming from volcanoes. So volcanic rock shoots up lava into the sky as hot molten lava, and then becomes a rock for about 40 seconds later. And now that molten lava hits the atmosphere and then falls down on the earth as rocks, as new rocks. So volcanoes make new rocks, but generally speaking, most rocks 50 million years or older. And then the rocks that volcanoes make aren't really new, are they? They're really 50-million-year-old lava that's now converted into a rock once it hit the atmosphere of cool air.
Uh, Rocks are all rocks hard?
Yes, 99% of the rocks on the planet are hard, but salt is a rock too. So, or geological formation. So, salt rock is less hard because you can
Okay.
dissolve it. It's not,
Yeah, that's what we
salt
put on our
is a
food.
type of geological formation, but not really considered a rock, but it kind of is. But generally, all rocks are hard. Yes.
Um,
Like the rocks of the mountains, the rocks of your beaches and oceans and rivers.
is sand a rock?
Sand is a tiny rock. All sand is basically tiny little rock pieces.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I thought. That was a good question on my part. Because it seemed like it could be. So there are all these kind of rocks, and you mentioned that one rock, and I have seen big ones, and people sell them where they got the colors and the stuff on the inside.
Right.
Those are called
Those are
what?
called geodes.
Okay.
They're special formation. Looks like a regular rock on the outside, but when you cut it open, all these crystals are on the inside.
Yeah. I think those are cute.
Those are very
Um,
popular, pretty
and
rocks.
then there are rocks that we say have certain properties to them. You rub them for passion or what have you. Isn't that's correct?
That's correct too. There's a whole lifestyle and world of energy stones, rocks as energy stones
Yeah.
that you use for different purposes. And so there is a pretty fairly substantiated community that believes in the energy embedded within certain rock types.
I guess now is a good time to ask you. What are you? You are a what? Are you a scientist or what is your title called?
Agriculture researcher.
Okay. You went to school for this?
No, we figured this out by accident and kind of had to build the science from scratch and gather dozens of PhDs to help us unpack and understand this new way of looking at rock and new way of using rocks to grow plants in a predictable manner. So I
How
didn't go
did
to
you
school because this was accident.
how did you stumble across it? You alluded to it earlier. You and him was sitting there and you saw a watermelon growing out of a rock.
Yeah, my uncle, I was living at my uncle's house before going to Peace Corps back in 1994, around the time you were born, a long time ago.
Sure.
And he asked me to come outside and explain a phenomenon. So I go outside and I see a rock bed and then a vine and a watermelon. And he asked me, he says, "Hey, Richard, why am I looking at that watermelon?" I said, "Oh, the rocks, that watermelon is being, the roots of that watermelon are in the soil below the rocks." He's like, "That's impossible." I was like, "Why is that?" Like, because I just did a landscaping project last fall. I took all the vegetation away, put down my fabric, and put down an inch of rock so I can have a rock area versus grass. And then I ate a watermelon right before I went inside for the winter, and I spit the seeds on the ground. And now I come back in the spring and I see this watermelon. I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess it can't be in the soil then." And then I took my hand and pulled the rocks back, and I saw the roots of that watermelon crawling across the top of the fabric. And then said, "Okay, well, there we have it." He said, "Have what?" I was like, "Rocks to provide the food for that watermelon." He said, "That's impossible." I was like, is it? No, it's not impossible. One, we're looking at it. So it can't actually be impossible if we're actually looking at it. And then look at it this way: rocks are minerals, minerals are nutrients, and nutrients are fertilizers. They're at least cousins.
Okay.
Add water, and you probably got yourself plant food. And he said, "Okay, I like that explanation. I haven't thought of it that way." So I go back inside, watch TV. 2 weeks later, ship out the Peace Corps, Mali, West Africa. And then he goes to the hardware stores and buys more rock and starts growing plants for the neighborhood for 10 years. Then my grandmother dies in 2008. And he asked me to come back and look deeper at his garden and try to explain what was really going on with it. And if I could help figure it out and help the people in Ethiopia that were going through a famine at that time. And so therein began my true investigation of what was going on in his farm over the last 10 to 15 years and what to do next. And so came back to my house in 2008, back in Maryland, DC, where I was living at the time, and started to recreate what he was doing there in Nashville. And then once I was able to grow plants successfully in rocks and I saw them germinate, we went and applied to the patents for the process. And we were awarded the patents to GeoAg in 2015.
Now geoag is a term you came up with, right?
It's a term I uncovered. You know, when I came back in 2008 and started my own independent investigation, we realized quickly that the rocks were growing plants for real, and that society didn't have it in the sciences. There was no recorded record of predictable use of rock to grow plants. Rocks were determined to be inert.
So hold on, let me stop you there. So what you're saying before you came up with this, no scientist in all the years prior had even discussed this as an option for the most
We
part.
can't say that. There are whole disciplines around the use of rock to help soil. So what scientists were doing is they were trying to use rock to help soil, where they agrogeology puts rock in soil in hopes that that rock will help the soil. Remineralization is a group out of Canada that takes a 50 million year old rock, which you could use for a lifetime, crush it into dust, and sprinkle it over soil so you can use it 1 or 2 times. So there are groups of people who think or thought that rock could help with soil, but just didn't configure it this way so that it's a pure rock environment, no soil is needed. What scientists kept failing at prior is starting with soil as the starting point, not realizing you can give rock its own starting point without soil. And so that's where the deviation between what we do in geoag world and traditional soil from farmers and scientists. Rocks are determined, have said, to be inert, meaning incapable of growing plants. But they define rocks, I mean, scientists define rocks as a collection of minerals. So it's either one or the other. You can't be both. So rocks are not inert. That was the misconception of science. That's what science messed up badly on. Rocks are minerals. And now we can harness those minerals to do things like grow the plants behind my head.
Are there particular type of rocks that grow particular type of plants, or it doesn't matter what kind of rock you have? I mean, I'm leading you into that part of it.
The rocks of the earth are very varied. Most of them can grow your plants. Most of the ones you find in the ocean, rivers, lakes, mountains, in your yard, and definitely what you find at the hardware store, like at Home Depot. The rocks that aren't good is the rocks that you have to mine or the geological formation. So like your gold, your silver, your zinc, your precious metals, they won't grow your plants for you. Your precious gems, rubies, diamonds, they're too much of a specific mineral to have a nice balance. However, your river rock that you find in your hardware store, they have a diverse set of minerals capable of plant growth. So most of the rocks that you can get to are okay. The rocks you cannot get to, like the rocks that you have to mine for, are
Gotcha.
less ideal.
Now, so when you take these rocks and you put them like in the plants that you have there, you put a seed in that plant, in that pot, that that's what the plant will become from that seed. You just did not add soil. You add water. Do you add other minerals, stuff like that, plant grow, or any of those kind of things?
No, geoag's definition is it's the study of growing plants in rocks without soil and without fertilizer. So you're adding nothing except water or moisture. Rock is a mineral. You just didn't know what minerals they were, nor how to get them for a beneficial purpose. So if you focus on the fact that rock is a mineral and sit there for a while, you should click after a while,
I
because
got
soil is a collection of minerals. So they're the same thing. Again, rock is the parent material to soil. You weren't taught that in class, but it's a very well-known fact of science, and a lot of disciplines already know that rock is the parent material. They're called horizons. There's the soil horizon and the rock horizon under it. And so if rock is the parent material to soil, so what parent can't do what their children can do?
I got you. Let me ask you this. I had a question in mind. Oh man, the growing in rocks, is it a slower process than growing in soil?
Well, what you see behind me is 12 days of growth from seed.
Can you
I said
can anything grow from rocks? Any plant?
100 plants that we have tested have grown successfully. And now I've moved to Miami, Florida to study the flora, plant life of Miami and the tropics. And we've got mango trees and palm trees growing in rocks too. We got grapes growing in rocks. Here, your wheatgrass. This is your wheatgrass right here,
Mhm.
growing in rocks.
Yeah,
This is a bean mix here. This is a gladiola flower. Pea pea shoots. Excuse me, pea shoots over here,
yeah.
and bean mix right here,
I
and then
got
sunflower microgreens right here.
you.
So that's 5 types of plants growing in rocks. But we grow tomatoes, cucumbers, Flowers, all types of flowers, sunflowers, okra. I got okra growing outside my door on my front porch right now in rocks. Black eyed peas, cucumbers, cilantro.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the benefit of growing them in rocks compared to growing them in soil then?
Well, soil requires fertilizer, which are chemicals that ultimately are harmful to the soil and the environment. And rocks are all natural, pure organic. So you buy a bag of rocks, you could use it for the rest of your life. You buy a bag of soil, you can use it for 1 year.
Oh, so this
Yeah.
is
And then,
revolutionary.
yeah, mankind, humanity wasn't aware that you could grow rocks in a predictable manner. Excuse me, you can grow plants in a predictable manner on rocks or in a rock environment, like you see behind my head.
Um, is it, I'm sure you have, and have you tested this? And in regards to the foods that you eat, is there a difference? Do the potatoes grow better or more tastier? The watermelon is more tastier, any of those kind of things that says you should do it this way?
So we work with over 24 HBCUs, have 150 PhDs in our community. So we're testing foods all the time, every day, all up and down the East Coast. So we test routinely and we teach testing when we teach rocks to populations. And then yes, it's sweeter. It's more nutritious because soil's contaminated. Soil's been dealing with acid rain for decades. It's been dealing with fertilizers for decades. It deteriorates, and so you often hear about the nutrition of foods now is way different than say 20, 30 years ago and 50 years ago. So wheatgrass, for example, this plant here, wheatgrass is a strong nutrition, high nutrition plant. Nasty as hell when you juice it for its properties. Costs $12 a shot, um, but that's not the best tasting plant. When you grow it on rock, they call it sweetgrass because
Oh,
it's just so much sweeter. And that's because you have a high density of mineralization here. Soil's minerals are diffused throughout the soil. Rock mineral is concentrated in this cup, in these containers, so that you do have uh, greener sometimes, tastier, sweeter fruits, plant products that grow.
let me ask you this, and hope you don't mind, and you say what you want on this regard. You have a patent on what?
This baby right here has 12 patents on it. So, the way patents work, you have a master patent, which I have, and then you have claims. And so every claim is, in essence, its own patent. So, one, I'm claiming that rocks can grow plants independently of soil and fertilizer. Well, the scientists of America says that's not possible unanimously. And so because the scientists of America said it wasn't possible unanimously, the US Patent and Trademark Office gave us that claim that rocks can grow plants without soil and fertilizer. Next set of claims, is the irrigation method we had to design to keep rocks moist for a long period of time, sand-based irrigation. So we got 2 or 3 patents on that. Then, because the physiology of the plant is different, then you have a patent on type of product that grows from it. And
Okay.
so our patent number is 9119351, and any can read the various claims. And so we
Okay.
claim that you need a plastic layer. That's one patent. We claim that you need fabric. That's another. We claim that you need an irrigation system below the soil, whereas traditional, you water on top. Here we have a water storage reservoir under the rocks. So that whole system is also unique and different to GeoAg and added as one of the claims. So in
Um,
total, we have 12 claims.
I got you. I love it, man. How long you been working on this to get to where you are now, where it
Well,
really became a business and that kind of thing?
it started out as a family hobby, and I had a regular career as marketing and advertising executive out of New York. And the hobby just grew and grew. And then once we came out with this book, River Stones Grow Plants, let me see if I can show it to you here. I
Yeah.
can't. We came out with a book, River Stones Grow Plants, in 2018. And then it was seen in Atlanta as a way to help with food deserts. So the county commissioners down there voted to bring GeoAg to Atlanta to have it taught to the public for free at libraries. So we taught about 1,000 residents in Atlanta in the inner cities how to access food via rock. So that's when it became a business.
And, you mentioned uh, how this can be used in let's say poor developing countries. Can you give us a little insight like that? Like in Africa, um, is this can this be beneficial for people who live in the deserts or what have you?
Well, the rocks, desert are full of rocks and no vegetation. And humans don't know how to use rocks. So any human anywhere who knows how to use rocks has permanent access to food and nutrition, period. So whether they live in Africa or Alabama or Azerbaijan or Asia, it's all the same as far as rocks concerned and basic knowledge. And so whether you're in Africa in a village, if you know how to use rocks to grow your food, you can now. And so we're the institution that's emerged to help teach humanity, whether in Africa, Asia, or Azerbaijan or Alabama, how to use rocks for them and their families to access food and nutrition and plant-based products to make plants. Cotton comes from rock. I mean, cotton is a plant, wood is a plant, cannabis is a plant. So if it's a plant, it's likely that a rock can impact its mineral density and grow it. So it really doesn't matter where you are in a village of Africa or in a condo in New York City's penthouse. Rocks will grow for you, period. You just need to
Uh,
know it's really a public awareness type of engagement now because we've done all the work to actually unpack how rocks work so that you can access it anywhere. You can have permanent access to food. And in Africa specifically, the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, out of South Africa, brought me and a team of GeoAg experts to the country of Namibia to grow plants in Namibia so that we can see if the Namibian rock can grow the plants, the desired plants of the country. So I was there 20 days and it's just as successful as rock growing here, if not a little bit better over there, because the rocks are older there, they have more mineral density. And so we went there to Namibia, worked with 10 federal agencies there and training them to make GeoAg a national education program that everybody learns when they're in school.
if you don't mind, what do you teach them? You teach them, okay, put the rocks in the pot, put some water at the bottom. Is that a secret, or can you tell us a little bit of for people who might be watching this how they use your system?
Well, you need to get the book.
Okay.
The rules of soil, the rules of gardening in soil are different than the rules of gardening in rocks. So they're about 60% different, 40% the same. And so, unless you're trained on it and you read about what to do, you won't know what to do. Humanity got rocks wrong for the existence of your time on Earth. That's thousands of years of getting it wrong. You're not going to just know what to do. And whatever you're thinking about soil doesn't really apply to rocks. So you really do have to read the book and get trained on it in order to do it. But it's not that difficult once you know what to do. And so we set ourselves up at HBCUs, and you can go learn it there, or you can get the book and read it, or we're in a lot of inner cities in food desert areas. And so we do teach it in different places, or you can just contact us directly and register for one of our classes and learn it directly from us.
I'm gonna get back to that. We're gonna close on the websites and how and so on and how to get the books, so on and so forth. But I do want to toot your horn in this regard. I Are you up for a Nobel Peace Prize?
You know, we get that a lot. We haven't applied to it yet. Maybe one day.
Because this is on that level.
Oh, most assuredly. I
Uh,
mean, mankind, humanity, when you're talking saying things like mankind and humanity didn't, and now we do, that's definitely UN level. I mean, Nobel Peace Prize level. And also, I just said the United Nations, they
right.
like our tech. So Namibia was their first country to see if it can work, but they have plans for GeoAg globally in all countries.
Um,
So yes,
you're
we
proud of yourself, aren't you? You stumbled across this, and here you are, and you follow through.
well, the man upstairs did all the work. He made the rocks, they're not my rocks. He just put me in a place to see his work and see it differently. You know, when we talk about that kind of thing, if you look back in the 16, 17, 1800s, where were the black people at? In the fields in nature, learning nature. That's how come when slavery ended, you had a whole bunch of black inventions. The blacks in the fields were learning nature and was able to apply what they saw happening in nature and make new things out of it. That's why we had so much black inventions come out, all which were stolen by the
Mm,
people who were not in the fields,
right,
who were
right.
in the big house, cheating each other, doing bad things, drinking all the time, spending all the money, while the blacks in the fields were really learning nature. So I'm one of those throwback blacks in the field nature learners who
Okay, I
watched the
got it.
rock. And it was because I was in the fields of my grandfather's property that we learned the basics of rocks and how they work. And I was able to apply that knowledge to my uncle's question to get us to where we are today.
Okay, I got to ask you this question then. You know, a lot of times when somebody, black or white, but particularly black, they do something revolutionary like you, the big white guys come along, the companies, I don't know the names, the fertilizer companies, the soil companies who say you got to use us. Are they threatened by you?
Absolutely not. They feel a sense of complete superiority and entitlement and barely see us, which is great because now we get to just grow our ranks every time. And we try to engage non-African Americans, white people, but their intelligence and their arrogance and their know everything is so beyond reproach. They can't wrap their heads around GeoAg in any respect and just abandon it quickly and go back to soy and act like they never heard of it after they met me, which is fine. We love that.
But at
Because
some
if
point,
they
it's
if they
going to catch on. You're going to get a CNN report or something like that. And have you gotten any of those kind of publicities exposed to CNN or anybody like that has called or they're watching you to see how this goes?
we've been interviewed at least 50 times, you can Google Richard Campbell and geological agriculture and see lots of articles. But the big feature on CNN or 60 Minutes, no.
You want that or you want to stay low
Oh
key?
yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty silly to pass on GeoAg to not it like what people should do is what you did. See, what do they say? If you see something, say something,
Yeah,
right?
okay. Yeah, sure.
So if you met me and did nothing, who's the bigger fool? Me or you?
Oh, I
We
got you.
figured out rocks. And
Right,
so if they're like you, Mr. Anthony, you saw something, you did something. You said,
right,
okay, we're gonna put rocks on our show.
right. That's right. Yeah, okay. I
And
got you.
so
I know.
100% of white people just turn around and go the other way and do nothing. And which is nice because it's allowed this underground minorities only world of researchers to grow and thrive. And so I was just at I met you at the conference, right?
Right, right.
And what
Yeah,
was that conference about? It was a
yeah,
Black People's Conference.
yeah. Sure, sure.
Yeah. And so, and how many panels was I on at that conference? 3 different panels. And so there's not one white institution in America that will ever allow me to be on 3 panels at one time. But because they just don't know and believe in the science, and they don't believe in Black research much. And so now we've been operating, by default, really now by intent. But originally, when we first started this, we were like, okay, once we figured this out, let's just go give it to the white man so that they could do right by rocks for once. And every white man chose to do wrong by rock. And if you ever want to test that theory, ask anyone that's ever met me why you didn't and see what they say to you.
That's deep.
Yes, it's
Yeah, I
natural.
love it, man. You on to something super big, revolutionary. How about this? Will this replace planting things in soil?
So we're not looking to replace soil. Soil is it's the child of rock. We're just looking for rock characteristics to be known and understood. So we're here to say what rock can do. We're not here to say what soil can't do. We're just here to say, okay, rock is doing this. Know that rocks can do this. We're not trying to compete with soil. We're just trying to show that rocks can do something too. And it could be beneficial to you. Now, if you see what rock can do and you happen to like it and you want to bring it to your home, that's your choice. But we want it just to be put in the education system so that humans know how to use the rocks of their planet for this purpose. It's like knowing how to build a campfire, knowing how to fly a kite. You should know how to use rocks to grow your plants since we know that they can. Anything else is you choosing to be ignorant of the fact of what's happening on your planet.
I got you. I got this question. What you have done, what would you compare it to being revolutionary as? The first thing that came to mind is George Washington Carver and what he did with the peanut, only because he's a black guy. But is there something like what you've done that you discovered that you can say someone else discovered something in a whole nother industry or something like that? I don't know if you get my question.
I get your question. It's just the answers are a little over the top. The answers to that because when geoag and rocks come to town, they hit people in a certain kind of way. They hit you like a ton of bricks, like it's real heavy duty stuff. And so George Washington Carver, yes, we get that a lot. Booker T. Washington, we get a lot. But we also get a lot of other great people of history names. But George Washington Carver is one that people say a lot.
Yeah,
Definitely.
probably nothing else because he was a black guy, and there's white people that did things too. I guess my last question, a couple more. Excuse me. Is there a question that I have not asked you? Something that you want people to know?
I mean, we need people to know what rocks can do. We need you to know that rocks are different than soil. And we need you to know that you don't know what rocks can do and don't try to speak for rocks. Let rocks exist and watch what they can do. And so we've already touched on the fact that, America has what we call lazy leadership. That means leaders who meet me don't do something like you. So try not to be a lazy leader when you hear about GeoAg, meaning do something in your community. Contact us to bring it to your school. We have robust K through 12 programming. We have all types of systems for the home and development at our HBCUs. And so know that there's something different on the horizon. You can get involved with us, but soil is not the end all be all anymore. And we're a big group and we welcome all people. Just because we don't engage whites don't mean we don't welcome whites. We would prefer to have whites in our system because it's a little weird not to. But they just scamper and run every time we start speaking. And so we do need that to stop. You should all get and keep in your home a copy of the book Riverstones Grow Plants. It can save your life. It can feed you. Remember, plants are both food. The plants are food. In most countries of the world, plants are also medicine, plant-based medicine. And then plants are also products. You have your plant-based products, but also your plants yourself that you can sell. So the knowledge of rock gives you the opportunity of income for things you can sell that you grow on rocks, food for things that you eat that you grow on rocks, and medicine for the nutritional value to avoid malnutrition. All the plants you see here, except the one in the center, are edibles. That's a flower in the center, and they're superfood microgreens. So it's critical to know what GeoAg's all about. We want every human to know it because you can turn your 6-foot table in your house to your own food supply for your household. You don't necessarily need a garden. You don't need a farm. The system is set up on this centralized farming structure where we're all reliant on the farmer, not reliant on ourselves. Well, guess what? In the inner cities, there are no farms.
Right.
And
Oh,
so in the inner city is where the food problem is. In the inner city is where there are millions of people dying at lower age and lower life expectancy. And so, and higher malnutrition rates. And so this is a science for the people.
I
Although
love it.
all sciences are for people, this
Yeah,
one can really help in your everyday lifestyle and your programming. And
yeah.
it's a new science because we're combining the science of agriculture with the science of geology to make one new science.
I love it. Okay, I guess the last question is, let's promote it as best we can. What is the website? How do people get your book? So on and so forth.
So you go to our website to Soil Less, TOSOILLESS, to soilless.com, and download the book, Riverstones Grow Plants. That book was short, and you want to do the download because then you'll have it on your phone. If you buy the hard copy, you're going to lose it eventually. But if you buy the downloaded version, you can have it on your phone. You can keyword search to the plants that you're interested in. It's only $20, and it would revolutionize how you look at gardening.
Excellent. Um, what's next for you?
Well, we have to stay on our path. You know, the rock path, step one, unionize academia. That means continue to bring on more universities into the fold and study in more places. And then work with the United Nations and the federal government to integrate GeoAg within your education system. So a few years from now, when your kids go to school, rocks are in the textbooks already. And so we
Excellent.
do have to kind of re-engineer the system a little bit. But you know, there's UN, and they have their week coming up in New York. We'll be in attendance, meeting with a lot of our colleagues there. There's the White House initiative on HBCUs that we're working with to get it more in the public education space. We're also interfacing with Congress. We'll be at the Congressional Black Caucus in a few weeks with Congress. So the next September is really jam-packed between Congressional Black Caucus, White House Initiative on HBCU Conference, and then the United Nations Week. So every week we'll be at one of these bigger conferences where we can begin to share it with your leadership, who then pushes it down into the various jurisdictions.
Yeah, I love it. Well, hey, I thank you so very much for coming on Strong Inspirations. You have uh, enlightened me tremendously. First of
Well,
all, I'm gonna say you enlightened me in this regard that a black man did this. A black man outthought everybody else throughout history. He's and I don't mean this with no disrespect. He stumbled across it, but he did the work. He did the research. He took years of his life, you and those who work with you, to come to this point in time, which is a huge thing. It's
yeah,
huge.
we were at Savannah State University yesterday, uh, teaching another set of 50 students the basics of GeoAg, and now they join in with the professors there, Dr. Sue Ebanks, to uncover more, to do more, because we're only a tip of the iceberg here. Remember, soil agriculture has had $1 trillion worth of investment throughout our lifetime for thousands of years. It's been the cornerstone. So we know that. Geoag is just a collection of minorities now bringing two rocks together to do something big with no funding whatsoever. And so we are the little guy against the big guy, but we're David with the rocks, and you don't have rocks.
Yeah, I love it.
And soil is the Goliath, and we'll get there eventually. But we do become friends in the end.
Yeah.
Rock and soil will work together. We are together. It's just that we don't see it yet, but we will.
Yeah. Everybody, this is what we do here, Strong Inspiration. So come on, y'all, hit the subscribe button. It's free. You see the kind of information and the kind of people and the kind of guy I am to sit back and say, hello, man, oh, give me your card. And I called him immediately.
And then on Instagram,
yes.
On Instagram, you can find pictures that we post. We post only pictures growing in rocks on Instagram. No social, no life of mine, just the rocks, plants we grow. At geological.agriculture.
Yep.
Geological.agriculture. We've got grapes on there right now, mango trees, palm trees, all growing in rock that you can see the pictures on our Instagram.
Yeah,
geological.agriculture.
Yeah, everybody hit the like button on this video. There is no love button, but I know you loved it because you sitting there like I am, like, dang. And you might not have said dang. Hit the notifications bell for when the videos come up. You get a ding, a shock. You get something to let you know that there's new content on Strong Inspiration. And my brothers and my sisters and the people watching me, please don't keep this to yourself. Let it flow.
Part.
Share it with people.
On.
Tell
See
folks.
something, say something.
There you go. About Strong Inspirations, where I give it to you straight, no chasing, to intoxicate your mind, not DUI, but make you stagger as you are staggering now. I am about what you have heard and saw on this particular program. And to you, my brother, I say this and I mean this with all sincerity. I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love who you become. Your humble beginnings here in the Motor City to the Maryland area, where you integrated your life with those others. And I'm sure you took that D-Town swag with you. They knew you was different. You went to class, you studied, you read books, and then you sat out in your spare time and looked at the rocks, and something hit you in one night, day, or otherwise, or your uncle saying, hey, man, there's something there. Something is happening to me, and you was curious enough to take it to where it is today, which will change civilization in some respects. That's a beautiful thing.
And we invite you to introduce us to your school system there in the D.
Yeah.
We don't do much work in Detroit. We would love to do more there. Yeah. So if you have educators there, Wayne State University departments, the city, those are the types of people we work with a lot. City governments, universities, and then public education.
Yeah, we got you. Got you for sure. All right. Thank you so very much for coming on Strong Inspirations. With that, I'll say bye-bye. We out.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
Grow in peace with the rocks.